So we actually had a specific North Dakota question. So are you in line with the Bank of North Dakota model? Is that a good model to go off of?
So the Bank of North Dakota model is a state bank. We are going, because California is much bigger and more populous, and we can't really have a one size fits all bank for a state this big. We're going with the Sparkasse model, which is the German model of a federation of city-owned banks. The other thing that the Bank of North Dakota does that we are pushing not to do is they invest in fossil fuels. And at every step of organizing for the California public banks, we have made it very clear that part of the reason why we are starting a public bank is because we are tired of our tax dollars going to help people profit off of fossil fuels. I guess to sort of pull back a little bit, this all started sort of as a response to the pipeline, the Standing Rock protests, where we saw, organizers saw that Bank of America was profiting so much off of this pipeline through the company Energy Transfer Partners, which was making the pipeline. And so organizers in Los Angeles were like, fuck Wells Fargo, like divest our money from this awful bank. And then, all the fraud shit came out, that they were opening multiple accounts, targeting people of color. And so we got the city of Los Angeles to, using that rubric of like, don't invest in our money in horrifying, polluting fossil fuels. Don't, with these fraudulent banks, we got them to disqualify Wells Fargo. Which is a huge victory. We're talking billions of dollars out of Wells Fargo. And then we realized, well, what are we going to do? Just fucking put it in Bank of America or like Chase Bank, one of these banks that's effectively just as bad, but hasn't been caught yet. And so that's when we came to the realization, the only place to put this money where it could have any sort of actual regulations that, don't allow for investment in these planet destroying things would be a public institution like a public bank.
So how are you going to like just like as far as rolling this out, how would you prevent anything like that from happening? Like, would there be kind of a standard of guidelines or some kind of like institution
Yes.
the bank would follow, or constitution rather?
Right. So again, this is all, we're organizing this right now. And if anybody has like ideas and want to chime in, go to publicbankla.org. If you live in the Los Angeles area, we're building this, we organizers are building this right now. And what our idea is to first remove the like obstacles to creating the public bank. So in Los Angeles, that means passing a measure that most likely is going to be known as Measure B. We haven't gotten the official letter yet, but it's going to be this November 6th on the ballot. That would remove a regulatory hurdle that would allow for the creation of a publicly owned bank, like a city-owned bank. Then we would write a charter for this bank that would be very, very strict. That would say, essentially, it would work off of an already existing thing known as an RIO, or a Responsible Investment Ordinance, which part of what we've done in the lead up to creating the public bank is to make, right now Los Angeles has the strongest basically grading scale of like community betterment to like their investments. So they have to like pass all of these sort of guidelines in order to do it. We just had them pass that. And so we're going to incorporate a lot of that very, very strict language into the charter of the bank. And then, the charter is only as good as the people who are running the bank. And so in order to make sure that it's not just, bureaucrats that are appointed by, whoever rich dude's son, we're going off of, as of right now, we're modeling it after the German model, the Sparkasse model, because it seems so smart, and it's worked so well for them to spend on, not fossil fuels, but renewable energy, which is it's like a tripartite management. So there's checks and balances. There's three specific like management forces in the bank. And this is getting a little wonky, but I'm sure some of your executive producers would love to hear this part. One part of the ownership would be elected officials, right? Mm-hmm. People that are elected. One part of the ownership would be experts, people who have demonstrated the ability and the know-how to do this. We're looking at reformed Wall Street people. We actually have a reformed banker helping us out on this campaign who knows the ins and outs of how banks can fuck people over and is sick and tired of it. People with a conscience. There are a few in the banking world and the finance world. And then the third would be sort of like a union model. It would be people that the government public sector employees of the bank elect to represent them. So there would be worker representation as well. And that's like that's the idea that we're sort of driving right now. And again, if anybody has any better ideas, we're all ears because we're literally building this at the moment.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your